Good morning. Welcome to the merry, merry month of May. That's where we are, right? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. And our theme this month is honoring Mother Earth. And we're actually going to honor all mother energy, including human mothers. Next week is Mother's Day. And anyone who has been in a nurturing role. But because we forgot Earth Day, we missed Earth Day last month, I thought we would make up for it by weaving into all of our talks the thing that nurtures all of us, Mother Earth. Right? So, all month. Now, you know, we talk a lot here about quantum growth, right? Quantum growth. It brings to mind a sense of exponential increase. There's this giant leap forward or a sudden expansion of experience, whether that's spiritual experience or healing or abundance or evolution of consciousness, right? And we know that in order to have that experience, to open to that experience, you know, we can't be sitting back just kind of waiting for the miracle to occur. We must be moving forward, intentional, incremental steps forward toward the direction of what it is we truly want, right? That's how we get there. So today we're going to talk about how those incremental steps can really lead to meaningful progress. So I had this idea because this week I was reading an article in Spirituality and Health magazine, which is a Unity publication. How many people are aware of that? Yeah, it's a good one. And Kelly Isola had written an article, and she was sharing about a knee issue that she had and was experiencing some frustration at how long it was taking to heal. Anyone been there? And she was going to physical therapy diligently, you know, and her physical therapist said, well, actually, you are increasing your range of motion by 10 degrees. And initially, she was discouraged. I mean, 10 degrees, big whoop, right? But then she started thinking, well, how significant 10 degrees can be in other contexts, right? So temperature-wise, 10 degrees can be the difference between rain, you know, a nice rain, or a damaging snowstorm. It could be the difference between whether your outdoor plants freeze or whether they get a good watering. It could make a big difference for someone who's living on the street. You know, the difference between 33 degrees and 23 degrees, that could be significant. And we know that just 2 degrees of overall rise in global temperature can be the difference between whether we survive or we're facing catastrophic climate change, right? So, small steps, incremental steps, can lead to a quantum impact. Now, let's take this idea and talk about it in terms of incremental steps toward realizing our full divine potential. Okay, so we know that in order to grow spiritually, we need to engage in some kind of practice, right? To nurture our spirit, to engage our heart, to apply these spiritual principles. We do need some sort of a regular practice, whether that's meditation or affirmative prayer work or connecting with spirit and nature or the crystal singing bowls or chanting or whatever is meaningful for you, right? Because honestly, you know, being centered in love and peace, regardless of what's happening around us, doesn't come naturally. It just doesn't come naturally. It takes practice. We need to practice it. But here's the thing. Many people find it difficult, challenging to be able to do a regular practice. So let's look at how the 10% rule can help us out here. Okay, so let's say that, you say, I don't have time to meditate. I can't meditate. I don't have time. Well, you might want to ask yourself, can I carve out 10 minutes today and sit in the silence or listen to a guided meditation thing? That might help, right? Or if you say, like me, this is mine, I can't possibly go to yoga class 3 times a week. I just can't do that. But then I ask myself, well, can you go once a week? I'm like, yeah. And I have to say that once a week, I'm making some progress. A little different in high heels. Or if you say, like many of you do, I can't possibly go to all the events they have every week at Unity Center of Peace. But can you go to one? Yeah, right. Or if you're doing you know how personal growth books, they always have so many exercises. I can't possibly do all the exercises in this book. But can you do 10%, right? Because all of that just adds up and makes a meaningful change. Now, if you already have a spiritual practice, you might want to ask yourself the question, can I increase it 10%? Whether that's longer meditation, or maybe you want to add something else, some other spiritual practice in there, and just experiment with it and see how you feel. Notice any shift in your ability to be centered in peace and love. Now, this same principle of 10% can also apply to any goal that you want to accomplish. Whether that's you're growing your business, or you want to write a book, or you want to add an exercise routine into your life, or you want to eat healthier, or you want to add more play into your day. That's my goal. Or you want to increase your loving relationships. How does the 10% rule apply? How can you dedicate 10% more of your time and your resources to focusing on something that's really important to you? Right? Small incremental steps can make a big impact. Okay, let's now shift to this idea of caring for our planet, lessening our carbon footprint, doing our part. How does the 10%, what can we do 10%? There's probably a lot of ideas. I'm just going to mention some. You might have some that we can talk about too. How about buying 10% less plastic, using 10% less plastic? Now, that's actually easier today than it ever has been because there's a lot of alternatives. You don't have to buy water in a plastic bottle anymore. They have it in aluminum cans or those paper, box cartons, right? Which really are recyclable. Yes, you want to put your plastic in the recyclable bin, but I hate to say that much less than 10% of that actually gets recycled. So we want to eliminate as much as possible. Those big jugs of laundry detergent, liquid laundry detergent. You can buy laundry detergent in sheets now that come in a paper envelope, right? And more restaurants are using compostable containers. And if they don't, ask them and say, well, I'll come back when you switch to compostable. So again, you can't eliminate 100% of plastic. It's just not possible. But 10%? Yeah. Okay, how about buying 10% less stuff? Now, the tariffs are going to help us in that. Whether we like it or not, we're all going to be buying much less stuff. Most of it comes from China, right? So that's going to be automatic. So my daughter buys all of her clothes at a thrift store. Vintage, Mom, it's vintage. And she's always coming up to me saying, guess how much I paid for this dress? And I'm like, I don't know, $50, $60, $10. I paid $10 for this, Mom, and it looks good. Now, I have to say personally, honestly, I have a little trouble buying something that somebody else has been sweating in. It's just a personal thing. I know they wash it, but can I do 10%? Yes, I can. Especially if it helps the environment, right? Which it does. It's a big impact. The other thing that's like that is composting, which is a big commitment. We do it, but it's kind of a pain. But every time I hear that composting just it reduces the amount of waste in the landfills, which then reduces the methane emissions, and it also creates this very rich soil that helps to replace, the nourishing, they scrape off the topsoil in modern life. So that creates this that really nourishes, right? So, okay, I can do that. So I would encourage you to consider thinking about 10% of your waste, of vegetable waste, or what's gone bad in your refrigerator. Or is that just my refrigerator? No, it's not just mine. Okay.
That's why I have 4 dogs.
Oh, okay. Keep her real fed that way. So put it if you don't have a dog, put it in your compost bag, and you can take it to the farmer's market. Chris tells me that the farmer's market has a compost bin, and on Saturday they bring it out, but it's there all the time. Or you can bring it here. We have a compost bin here too. Just 10%. Okay, the last thing I have, there's lots of different, but the time. So last thing I want to mention is reducing meat and dairy consumption can really significantly, just a couple days a week, can significantly lower your carbon footprint. Switch to a plant-based diet 1 or 2 days a week, and it can make a big impact. And if we all did it, together, can be significant. Suddenly it got very quiet. Okay, where else have we heard about 10%? Oh! Tithing, you're on top of it, yeah. See, if you were in Los Angeles and I asked that question, they would say, well, that's what an agent takes, 10%. But we're here, so yeah. So tithing literally means 10%. And the idea is to share 10% of your income with the source of your spiritual support. So as you do, you are not only supporting the organization that's meaningful for you, that supports you and your spiritual growth, but you're also initiating the law of circulation in your life. As you give, so do you receive. It's not just a biblical thing, it's a spiritual principle, right? It's a spiritual principle. It's like we're activating our power of faith, that we trust that as we're creating a vacuum, that the universe rushes in to fill it with abundance, right? It's like breathing, exhaling. You got to exhale. Everybody take this deep breath. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. I bet you're wanting to exhale about right now, right? Exhale. it takes both. You need to exhale and inhale for all forms of life. Now, at Unity Center of Peace, we are transitioning away from the term tithing because it has a lot of baggage. You know, people feel like there's this obligation. It's either sort of brings up feelings of obligation, or people do it just to see the increase in abundance in their life rather than from a place of love, right? So it's transactional. So here we are moving towards the concept of generous giving, because that's really what it is. It's giving from a place of love and the awareness of the divine overflow. There is a divine overflow, right, that we want to get and open to the flow of. That divine overflow. Now, some people ask me, well, what's the 10%? Why 10%, right? Well, it's biblical, right? It's in Malachi chapter 3, verse 10, I think, but in other places as well. And some people believe it's just that 10% is a sacred formula. As Waldo tells me, the number 10 is the number of power. You know, but I remember something that Eric Butterworth says in his book, Spiritual Economics, really great book. He said something about that 10% is like the training wheels on a bike. You do it until you develop a natural, charitable heart, an open heart, a generous heart. So it's sort of training our brain. So for me, though, I believe that more important than the number is the energy from which it arises, right? If it's arising from a place of love, from a spirit of generosity, then that's actually been scientifically proven to add to your well-being, to enhance your well-being, and to allow you to share that energy, that positive energy into the world, which, as it turns out, attracts more to you, more good, more love, more beneficial circumstances, and yes, more abundance. But that's not why we do it, right? So we want to be clear about that. So whatever it is you choose to share with your spiritual community, and it is your spiritual community, your choice, I would ask you to either think about an incremental increase, for a couple of months, see what shows up in your life, or really ground in the awareness that this is coming from love, that you're connecting with that spirit of divine overflow. You're connecting with that energy of giving, right? Either of those two things, play with that and see what shifts in your life. Okay? Again, kind of quiet. All right, so where else would you like to see big change?
I'd like to see more people bring their used cartridges to support.
Can you bring 10% more of your used cartridges? We have a recycling program going on. Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. Oh.
Pick it up. I'm trying to make picking up litter sexy.
I like it. I'm going to take one more because I do have a place I'm going to. Teresa.
Well, I would like to see the consciousness of the United States change so that we stop othering others.
Yay.
That's where I'm headed, girl. That's exactly where I'm headed. Yeah. I mean, do you feel a little overwhelmed? A little frightened? Maybe like, so much so that you become paralyzed, that you don't know what to do, or there's just so many things to address, you just don't know where to start. Or if anything you're doing is making any difference. Anybody feeling that way? Yeah, just about all of you. Okay, so let me say this first. We are divine beings living in this very imperfect human world, right? And we want to live into both aspects of our being. This is what we were studying the last 6 weeks with that book study group. Living fully into our divinity, embracing 100% the divinity that we are. And also living fully into our humanness, embracing 100% of our humanness and bringing that together, that creates wholeness. So, our response then needs to be two-pronged, right? Our response to injustice, human rights abuses, the repealing of any kind of climate thing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Two-pronged. First and foremost, as spiritual beings, we want to embrace compassion for everyone and offer massive prayer to all involved. First and foremost. Secondly, the humanness of us, we want to activate our power of power to be able to stand up and speak out when it's important. And so I believe we can all do 10% more of those things. Okay, you on board? 10% more compassion. Who can do that? Yeah, 10% more prayer into the world, into all involved. 10% more calling your representatives, or whatever it is, if you show up for a march or work on a campaign, whatever it is that's calling to you. 10%, again, small incremental steps lead to a big impact. Whether we're focused on our spiritual growth or accomplishing a goal that's important to us, or lessening our carbon footprint, or practicing generosity, or helping to create a world that works for everyone, those intentional, incremental steps taken on a consistent basis can lead to a quantum shift. Yes? Yes. Okay. 10%. Well, I got 10%ers here. Everywhere. All right. Thank you. Namaste. Hi, it's Reverend Victoria here. I'm at Unity Center of Peace with our house band, Bright Matter.
Hello.
Yeah, and if this video has inspired you or empowered you or opened your heart, opened your consciousness, or even just given you hope, we ask that you support what we're doing here by making a donation today, going to unitychapelhill.org or clicking the link below. And we thank you.
Thank
Thank you.